having the right tool to do the job can make a world of difference. If you're going to be doing some DIYing in the near future, there's a handful of tools that I find are really helpful to have on hand. When you live and breathe DIY life, you definitely start to learn which tools are worth your investment. So that's why today I thought I would share with you my favorite go-to tool. It's not a complete list, but it's a good start and it will definitely get you off on the right foot. Okay, my first favorite need to have use all the time tool are my clamps. Wait, don't click off. I get it. If you're a lady and you hear the words clamp, your immediate response is to flee. But I'm talking about woodworking clamps, and a DIY girl needs a good clamp or two in her life. If you're going to be DIYing with glue, with anything more than a glue stick, then trust me when I say you need clamps. Clamps in all sizes. Smaller clamps are perfect for those smaller DIY projects. Your medium to large clamps are what's needed when you're working with larger woodworking projects. When looking for clamps, find ones that are easy to use, have a nice solid handle, and get them in varying sizes so that you have the right clamp for each job. And although I am constantly using my clamps, if I was to pick the one I turn to the most in my craft room, it would have to be those smaller DeWalt ones that actually expand to a decent size. Okay, moving on to another craft room tool that I cannot live without, the Cricut. Again, stick with me and hear me out. I know for many when it comes to the Cricut, one either loves the sweet cutting machine or they have no use for it. I think maybe some find the Cricut DIYs to be a bit crafty cutesy. Still, stick with me. And then I think for some, I think it might be that the technology can be a bit intimidating. If this is the case for you, then you are definitely going to want to check out my Cricut 101 video where I'll walk you through how to use your Cricut cutting machine and start your Cricut DIYs the right way. I'll link it here above and I'll also add it in the description below. Now let me share with you all the reasons why I still love my Cricut, even though I'm not a cutesy crafty kind of gal. I love making my own throw pillows with the Cricut cutting machine. It's perfect for creating one-of-a-kind looks, which is especially perfect for creating those holiday looks. I love to use my Cricut to personalize boring, everyday home goods. Something as boring as a bucket or a laundry basket can suddenly become chic and charming decor when you combine it with a little bit of Cricut imagination. One of my favorite ways to use my Cricut is to create my own stencils. This allows me to create one-of-a-kind distressed decor that fits in perfectly with my farmhouse look. A little imagination, some chalk paint, a stenciling brush, and suddenly you have yourself a distressed look every time. I also love to use my Cricut when labeling. With a Cricut machine, you can create practical but stylish labels for all of your organizing needs. And then there's always you can make your loved ones feel a little extra love when you give them personalized gift tags and gift wrapping using your Cricut. All you're going to need is some cardstock, inexpensive vinyl, and some creative inspiration. Okay, and if you're going to get a Cricut, then you're definitely going to need some Cricut tools. Ah, but which one? Yes, I get it. It can be totally tempting to buy all the supplies at once, but you really don't need to. Really, there's actually only a couple of tools that you're really going to need and use when you first get your Cricut. So to get started, I recommend you get the scraper. You'll need this for every one of your Cricut DIYs that uses vinyl. You'll need it to burnish your vinyl onto your transfer tape, and then you're going to need it to burnish the image onto your piece. You're also going to need a weeder. Basically, the weeder will be needed in all of your Cricut DIYs, whether you're using temporary vinyl, permanent vinyl, heat transfer vinyl, or paper, you're going to need a weeder. So this tool is really at the top of the list of things you're going to need. And if you have a machine that requires a Cricut mat, then you're also going to need a Cricut mat. I recommend that you get the 12 by 12 regular stick mat. It's a green one. That's the one you're likely going to use the most. That's it. Really, all the other tools are bonus tools. They're handy to have, but they're not really necessary. But if you're looking for a little bit more, I have a few tools for the Cricut machine that I often use. They're nice to have, they're just not necessary. So the other really super handy tools are the Cricut portable cutter. It's not just useful for cutting vinyl and paper with your Cricut machine. You can also use this to cut a straight line in any of your projects, which means it goes beyond the Cricut, which to me makes it it worth it. Plus, if you're like me and you can't cut a straight line, it comes in real handy. Then there's the brayer. This handy rubber roller will help you get your vinyl, fabric, or cardstock laid down flatly on your mat. And then there's the Cricut heat press. Again, handy to have, especially if you're planning on working with heat transfer vinyl and fabric. However, it's not necessary because you can use a good old-fashioned iron. I've never used the iron. I don't even think I own an iron. So I've always used the Cricut press and it works really well. Hot glue gun. I have a ton of glue guns, like an absurd number of glue guns. Small addiction. I have glue guns that take small glue sticks, ones that take fat glue sticks. I have glue guns that come with cords attached and ones that are cordless. There's the heavy duty one. I even have one with changeable nozzle head. But at the end of the day, if I'm DIYing in the craft room, I'm reaching for my SureBonder Mini with the fine tip. And yes, it's not cordless. I get why some ways cordless can be kind of beneficial, but personally, I find that every time I went to go use it, it needed to be charged. I was always reaching for this one. I found that the SureBonder Mini glue gun is perfect for adhering small embellishments to my DIY projects. The fine tip allows me to work with smaller pieces while not leaving behind big globs of glue. But if I'm doing some more heavy duty DIYing out in the garage, then I'm reaching for my heavy duty Ryobi all the way. Making your own homemade candles can be really satisfying. You can get really creative with candle making, but you are going to need some basic tools. I love these candle wax melting pots. I love their size, I love the handle that clips over the side of the pot, and I love their easy pour spout. I keep 2 pots, one's for beeswax and the other one's for soy wax. Another tool that's really handy when you're making candles is this heat gauge. Seriously, with this press of a button, it gives you the exact temp that your candle wax is at. This will help to ensure you get perfect crack-proof candles almost every time. There's always a bit of wiggle room for human error. Trust me when I tell you I use this handy little tool a lot. And I mean like a lot. This heat gun is definitely a tool you're going to need in your arsenal. You can use it to speed up the drying time on your painted DIYs or Mod Podge. I use it all the time to heat up and remove old paint, old glue, or sticky adhesive. It works way better than a hairdryer for creating that cool crackle effect with Elmer's glue and some paint. You can also use it to remelt and smooth your candle wax in case you had one of those human error moments. I love my miter saw. Love my miter saw. It's fun. Yes, it's a little scary at first, but trust me, it is worth pushing past the fear to feel that power. If you're going to be doing any woodworking, a DIYer is going to need themselves a good miter saw. You can create so many amazing DIY projects if you have yourself a miter saw. And this compact Ryobi one is perfect for the everyday DIYer. She's powerful, accurate, easy to use, large enough to handle big pieces of wood, and oh, she's so pretty. Okay, even if you're sold on the miter saw, don't turn your nose up at this little baby. The miter box is handy. And it's not just for those of you who are right now thinking, did she really just try and get me to embrace a miter saw? And you should, but you should also get this beauty too. It's ideal for those of you who are passing on the miter saw but still want to be able to cut smaller wood pieces. But even if you have the power tool version, this is perfect for cutting those smaller or shorter wood pieces that if you use the big guy, you'd likely lose a finger or two. Okay, sticking with the miters because the miters are mighty. Miter shears are also a must-have in the craft room. It's for those super teeny tiny pieces of wood that the 2 mentioned before can't handle. And just like the other 2, you can cut on an angle, making your DIYing for your wood pieces so stinking easy. Wire clippers. I use these handy little tools constantly. Basically, every time I make a front door wreath or a faux floral arrangement, I'm reaching for the clippers. I seriously could not live without my wire clippers. They save my scissors, my hands, and they are a must-have for any craft room. So get yourself a comfortable pair that fits perfectly in your hand and take good care of them because it's about to become your best friend. Again, if you're planning on doing any woodworking, you are going to need yourself a decent nail gun. I happen to have a Ryobi nail gun that I find make creating my wood decor pieces really simple and easy. It's lightweight enough that I can handle it, even though I really don't have a strong hand. But trust me, the DIYs you can churn out with this tool, positively staggering. If you enjoyed that, make sure you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. If you hit that notification bell, it'll let you know the next time I upload. Oh, and you might enjoy these.